I'm going to make sure I have security because I have too much work to do. There are too many people that need help right now. So suck it up, and defunding the police has to happen.
Cori Bush, member of the Squad and BLM activist turned congresswoman, is being investigated by the DOJ for misusing campaign funds. Wow! I am just shocked here. I am flabbergasted. I cannot believe that this is happening. Representative Cori Bush, D, Missouri, the St. Louis area, if you don't know, confirmed Tuesday that the Department of Justice is investigating her for campaign spending on security services, quote-unquote security services. Just to be fair, I'll read part of her statement. She says, "Since before I was sworn into office, I have endured relentless threats to my physical safety and life." As a rank-and-file member of Congress, I am not entitled to personal protection by the House. Instead, I've used campaign funds as permissible to retain security services. That is the story that she is going with, that she used her campaign funds to have a security officer with her in order to make sure that she was safe. Now, before we get into the hinkiness of who the security officer is and whether or not she paid this person appropriately, let's all remember this clip from Cori Bush in 2021 when she was an ardent supporter of Defund the Police. Watch this.
You can't get that off. I'm going to make sure I have security because I know I have had attempts on my life and I have too much work to do. There are too many people that need help right now for me to allow that. So if I end up spending $200,000, if I spend $10 more on it, you know what? I get to be here to do the work. So suck it up, and defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police and put that money into social safety nets because we're trying to save lives.
Okay, so that's the kind of person that Cori Bush is, again saying, we need to defund the police and take police out of your neighborhoods to not keep you safe. But of course, and she says it out loud too, I, of course, need security services because I have important work to do, as if the work that you have to do is not important. She's working for the people and to enrich herself, but she's working for the people. And your paltry, dumb job that you go to pay taxes to pay for what she does is insignificant. You don't deserve safety. Defund the police needs to happen. So that's the type of person Cori Bush is. So again, just a sheer and utter shock that the DOJ is investigating her. Now, who is her security guard? How much was she paying them? Bush says she is fully cooperating with the Justice Department and declined to comment further. The St. Louis Democrat says she retained her now husband. Oh, this is a first. I've never seen a situation in which a congressperson puts their significant other or extended family on the campaign payroll. Holy moly, this is a shock. Her now husband, as a part of the security team, and claims that he is able to provide security services at or below market rate. Now, here's the interesting thing about this. Congressional ethics rules for members of the House of Representatives permit family members to be paid from campaign funds for bona fide services so long as payments do not exceed fair market value. So, in other words, you're allowed to hire your significant other or your spouse or your daughter or your son or your cousin or your uncle or your aunt or your grandma to work for the campaign staff, because it's not tax dollars, it's money that's coming into your campaign. And in some states, and this is crazy, you can take a salary yourself for running for Congress. Jamal Bowman pays himself $30,000 every time he runs for Congress, on top of the money that he makes in Congress and on top of the speaking fees and all that sort of stuff. He takes money out of his own campaign to pay himself, and he's not the only person that does that. There are several Republicans that do that as well, and it's also just as bad. He just happens to be the example that's in my head right now. The bottom line is you can pay your family. Whether or not you think that's a good idea or whether or not you think that's appropriate, that is a topic of discussion for another time. But the bottom line is the rules say that you can do it, but you have to pay them at a fair market value, which is why she's being investigated by the DOJ, because her now husband, who was her just regular boyfriend at the time, made $500,000 over the course of 2 years. Now, I've hired security services, armed security for different things. They don't cost that much. And I'm not belittling the security job, but $250,000 a year is like double or triple the amount of money that it costs to have security. Now, if you're talking about a full security team, that's one thing. This particular instance is just her now husband who got paid above market rate, let's just say, or at least it looks like, which is what triggered the investigation into Cori Bush. Now, Cori Bush, obviously being the type of person that she is almost guaranteed to say, well, they're investigating me because I'm a black woman. Okay, well, if you're gonna go that route, let me point out Maxine Waters, who has been paying her family handsomely throughout the entirety of her congressional career. If you don't know this, Maxine Waters is also a congresswoman from the Southern California area who happens to be a black woman. She also instigated a crowd and probably sparked some riots when she was the person that said, when we see MAGA people or Republicans in public, push back on them and create a crowd. Whole different story, but anyways, that's the same lady. Maxine Waters, who also happens to be a black woman, has been paying her family extraordinarily well, but not necessarily over the market value, which is why she is not being investigated. Well, how much has Maxine Waters been paying her family? Well, enough to buy an extraordinarily nice house that is outside of the dilapidated district that she represents. So, Cori, when you say they're investigating me because I'm a black woman and you try to play the race card, just know that there are other black women that are doing the same exact thing as you, except for they're doing it by the rules, which is both helpful and irritating at the same time. The helpful part is, no, it's not because of your race, it's because you paid him an exorbitant amount to do a job that isn't worth what you're paying him for. The scary part, and the frustrating and irritating part about that is apparently it is okay to be corrupt, but you have to be corrupt correctly, which is not awesome. You can be corrupt, but you have to be corrupt correctly.